On this episode of ResiWeek, Crestron is back at CEDIA Expo, takeover job opportunities, and the eco-impact of smart home. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek episode 223, Blame the Technology.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by
Blackwire Designs, the go-to distributor for the CI industry with an extensive product lineup backed by unmatched sales and system support. Anytime dealers need it, even after hours or on the weekend.
Hey, welcome to ResiWeek. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv, and this week I am pleased to be joined by Tom Devine. He is the marketing director of AV Pro Edge. How are you, sir?
Oh, doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Then we have Bob Archer. He is the senior editor of CE Pro. How are you, sir?
Pretty soft, Matt.
Pretty good. And last but certainly not least, we have a good friend coming all the way to us from the other side of the globe, Bruno Napoli. He is the business development manager at Blue Light Concepts. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, and thank you for having me again.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. It's always fun to get everybody together. All right, gentlemen, let's kick this off with we've got a full slate today. But first, I want to just give a quick note to Steve Durkee. He has been named the new president of Legrand AV. If you don't know Steve, he's been in the business for quite a long time. Specifically, he joined essentially the company in 2004 with chief manufacturing before it was part of Milestone, and then obviously part of Legrand AV. So he has been in this business for quite a while, most recently as the senior vice president and general manager of commercial AV. So we want to say congratulations to him. I know Tim has an interview with Steve that should be live on our site. So go check that out if you want to learn more about that or read the great article from CE Pro and Bob Archer. You can get that on CE Pro. So gentlemen, let's jump into a topic that kind of hit the news cycle last week and brought a lot of conversation back into the game. Crestron is going to return to CEDIA Expo 2020, spotlighting Crestron Home. This comes to us from Residential Tech Today. If you somehow missed this announcement, one, it's a big deal because Crestron is coming back to Expo after a 5-year hiatus. In that time, they started their own summits on both the East and the West Coast of the U.S. and invited all of their pared down dealership group to come to that. I got a smile from Tom for that one. They are, as we said, coming back to Expo. They are looking forward to continuing to promote and talk about Crestron Home and bring a little bit of kind of their ISC booth and that style into Expo. So that is very exciting. But of course, you can't talk about Expo without talking about the potential that it doesn't go this year. So Tom, I want to start with you. What does this mean to the kind of the channel that Crestron's back? They are, as you know, working both ISC and Infocom and the CEDIA shows. When you walk into those trade shows, usually you see Big Blue. It's kind of that big, ominous booth. What does it mean for Expo? What does it mean for the industry to see such a big player come back and commit to the show again this year?
Well, I think it's an exciting move for the channel. That means that we have a company as big as Crestron, one of the big Trons. They are moving it back to residential, which they've been before. I mean, there's plenty of residential dealers that have been installing Crestron, but for them to put the emphasis on it, it means that there is potential in our sector right now for growth. They see how many companies are doing really well, being able to really get their hooks in the residential, and they can see that part of their market share moving away from them. And I think as they have tried to, as Control 4 has really press Crestron to really change, almost to become more of a control 4 like application where you're picking things. It's a little less programming. Well, that entails them to move perfectly into this residential field where integrators are going to be able to, get used to this new system they're doing, where maybe having a full Crestron programmer on staff isn't always possible from residential integrators before. With their new product, it's going to be easier. So I think it's positive for our sector, as in it's showing that there is a lot of potential here. And that means it's not a lot of potential just for Crestron, but for every other manufacturer and all of the integrators and, all of our installers and our designers. That means we can all get more jobs, which is good. And it's cool to see those guys come in and join the ranks of the residential market.
Yeah, I agree with that. Bob, let me come to you on this. We've talked about this in the past. We covered, I know we did, I know you did. I think we talked about it together, about kind of the cull that happened, if you will, a couple of years ago, where they really pared down their residential dealers. Does this speak to a commitment to new growth? Does this speak to a very rose-colored outlook of going into the end of 2020 or the start of 2021 for Crestron, that they're looking at this saying, we have our dealer base, but we see our dealer base expanding? Am I reading too much between the lines?
No, I think you're right. I think Crestron looks at the market and says it's a new era in home control, home automation, and we're poised to take advantage of it. They have a robust line of lighting and shades. They can take advantage of the smart home and these new opportunities with circadian lighting and all of these other amenities that homeowners are really starting to look for now. And I think they probably didn't have this in mind, but if you look at their commercial product line, they have products like the Mercury and some of those other products that, as we come out of this and business is redefined in how we communicate, they'll probably have an advantage over all these other companies at integrating those commercial products into their Resi product line.
Yeah, very true. All right, Bruno, let's kind of wrap this one up, and I'd be remiss if we talked about anything with CEDIA Expo and not bring up kind of the elephant of the room of, is this going to go? Is this it's a big story in the sense that Crestron is committing to, they're taking space, et cetera, but that show is in September. We're seeing, I know someone posted that there's I think a Munich beer festival in October that's already been postponed. Emerald postponed everything up until the end of July. Am I right on that, Bob?
I believe so.
So we're talking about this as if it's happening, and obviously they've committed to it. But seeing what's going on from the other side of the world, as you are, is this something that you think is going to happen, or is this a lot of talk about them coming back, which is great? We're not downplaying that, but if they come back to a show that it doesn't happen this year, that's not that big of a deal yet.
You know what? If they do not come back this year, I mean, we can see that they want to come back, so they will probably come back the year after. For me, it's not a big problem. Okay, it's not all the show in the world are going to be postponed. You even have in Light Plus Building is one of the biggest light show in the world. It's every 2 years, and they just had an announcement a few days ago saying that they're going to postpone for next year. So I'm not sure CEDIA will happen this year. Nevertheless, Crestron sent a big message to the industry saying we're going to be back. And if it's not this year, it's going to be next year. So this year or another year, it's not the topic. The topic is they are coming back, and they send us a big, bright, and clear message.
Yeah, very good. I do like, and just before we move on, I love the quote in here that, John Clancy says that they're getting all kinds of interest in this, and this is a great opportunity to get people out to, kick tires and see the product where they otherwise might not. But it does also say, he also says that they're not trying to sign 1,000 new dealers. So it'll be very interesting to see, if this show goes, which I'm on the fence of. I really hope it does. It'll be very interesting to see what their dealer base looks like coming out of this show. Hey, thanks for watching the first segment of this week's episode. To catch the entire show, please click the link below or visit avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.